Hey everyone, I was just out here and we just found a good unclogging to do. Someone would be able to respond, but I couldn't hear anything. Oh no. Ooh, that rock saved me. I was sinking and then that rock was like, whoo, it shoved me right back up. Almost got stuck there. Alright, so this road here also has its fair share of problems. This right here, this little dip, is a culvert pipe that is clearly not working, and it's not frozen based on this area. The road's been getting nice and warm in the sun. We're going to put up a couple of blue colored ribbons because this pipe is not working. Hold the phone. This one's not clogged. The grader actually pushed it in. So we're gonna pull over. There's no traffic on these roads, so we don't need to leave the truck running to use strobe lights or anything. We're just gonna pull over here. Could be soft. And we got an unclogging here today. So I just showed you the clip of us finding this, and I was coming out to put up a blue ribbon because 90% of the plastic pipes you stop at when you see a divot in the road like that, it's usually collapsed. They're soft material, the roads are soft, super heavy trucks, frost heaves, path of least resistance is usually into the pipe. So we're gonna put camera number 2 here. I think this is gonna be a nice short video, but very eventful. Look at the grass is even starting to turn green, all this water grass. It's a nice warm day. It's about 55 degrees, 15 degrees Celsius. Very nice day. So I got camera number 2 here with me. We're gonna go ahead and set it up. All right. Here we go. Camera number 2 is on. I always make a high-pitched noise for camera alignment. The reason I do that is because a high-pitched noise carries further, but we're right next to camera 2 there, but sometimes I'll do the noise up and over a 20-foot road or 20 feet of elevation road. And at that point, that's when you really need a high-pitched noise to carry far. Okay, here we are. I was just down in here and I feel like it's gonna be an easy one, but eventful. There we go. I believe this is what's causing that side road to be soft. All this water built up. Can't wait to look at the footage of camera number 2. That rock going through it. Not a very big area. This isn't going to flow for long. I'll use my feet to get down the rest of this a little bit. But that's 100% open. I'm just trying to clean it up a little bit. That was fun. We're gonna send a missile through. 1, 2, 3. I'm gonna follow that to the other side. Woo! Boom! That was awesome! Wow! Good thing camera number 2 didn't get knocked over. That was awesome. Yeah, this pipe has nothing wrong with it. If things like that can get sent through. Before we lose water pressure, let's send through one more cool big rock. I'm gonna run over and meet it. Boom! There it is. Boom! There it is. That was nice. Look at that water pressure. Woo! Oh, I haven't had a fun one like this in a while. This is gonna drain pretty fast. I'll let you keep watching it for maybe another 5 minutes. Should take care of the majority of it. Notice how it wasn't going over the road when we started. Wasn't really much coming out of the pipe either. There's barely anything supplying this, but deep under, I bet the ground is still frozen, keeping it in. That's why the road is so muddy. It can't drain underground. Deep under is still frozen. That's what makes mud season. Mud season's caused by that. I'm gonna go put the rake away. Take the big high boots off. And I'll leave you guys to watch this thing drain for a little bit. Find another one. I'm going to leave the boots on until the sun goes down. Still got 4 hours of daylight today. Wow, that pipe was a bit underwater when we started. Now it's a third of it's open. And for anyone that's going to criticize me throwing items through there, if the item in there gets stuck, it means the pipe is going to fail. If it gets stuck, it means it would get stuck by debris naturally that goes through it anyways. The only way it would get stuck is it's typically at the joint. If this is a continuous pipe, which I think it's probably continuous, the company orders ones that are pretty long. But if you have to joint it in the middle, that's the weakest spot if a truck runs that over. If a truck runs it over, it can kink it a little bit, creating lips that debris will get stuck on, and also can cause erosion and sinkholes in that middle part. If that occurs, the pipe is flagged and replaced. But I'm actually surprised in such a wet area that this pipe did not completely just get destroyed by frost heaving. The water in the road expands. Water expands as it freezes, and it will usually go up, making frost heaves. It'll make ripples in the road, very bumpy. But path of least resistance is sometimes through the culvert pipe, because it's soft plastic with available space. Well, we already dropped it down about halfway. The water's still loud coming out the other side. I'll let the clock on the camera go for a little bit longer. This will look really cool to time lapse it at the very end. I even see some moose tracks in the mud of this. Yeah, this was the grader. It's not a very noticeable pipe, and this was probably graded in the summertime when the water grass was tall, and the scraggly things you see here are berry bushes. The operator probably didn't see it, but when they do that, they really should have someone coming around cleaning up the drainage ditches and checking on this stuff. But it's excusable. I see how this thing was barely noticeable. I wouldn't have been able to find it if it wasn't for the dip in the road, which basically told me exactly where it is. And the water, I'm sure, is coming out crystal clear on the other side. Let's give it a little burst of coffee water. I just like watching things like that on camera number 2. And now, give it like 10 seconds, it'll be flowing clean over on camera number 2. So much fun. Now at this point I wouldn't try to send a big rock through it because the pressure's going down. It probably still does have enough pressure. It's a smooth pipe in good shape, but yeah, we're slowing down. Yeah, we're looking really good. Let's do a few before and afters while we're here. This is obviously not max flow, but here's what it looked like during max flow from the camera number 2 angle. And here's what it looks like now. And here's what it looks like before we did anything. And here's what it looks like now. Yeah, that's just satisfaction, seeing everything turn coffee color, clear back up. That's gonna look really cool during a time lapse. These ones here are the most fun. This is the most fun part of my job, these type of culverts. I like going around inspecting and just flagging, but sometimes you come up to one of those beaver dams that's in the center of a 3-foot pipe. I don't have to do them, but I do them. And those ones are the back-breaking ones. You gotta be crouched in there in a 3-foot pipe, completely bent over for sometimes a half an hour at a time. Those are not the fun ones. These are the fun ones. You can open it up in like a minute and just sit around for a half an hour watching it. It's fun. Now we're down to probably the final last third of the water. I'm doing good. Let's step away for a minute. I like these. Tasting a little bitter though, because I just brushed my teeth about 20 minutes ago. Gotta keep up hygiene even when you're living in the truck for a week, out in the wilderness, doing logging road inspections. The moose like doing that too. There's a lot of their tracks in there. Now we're down to like the last quarter of the water. Now it looks like we're both down to our last fifth. I'm all done. Well, this became quickly my favorite one of 2025. So far in 2025, we had one road that had 3 severely clogged ones. We got 2 of them open. When we opened it, it threw muddy water all over the top of white snow. That one was pretty cool, but this one was more fun. That one was kind of a pain in the butt to get open. Then we had another pretty big one in the sugar farm. It's an area of hundreds of thousands of acres of forest in Maine where they collect maple syrup. That's all it is. It's all it's used for. No logging. Well, mixed use. They don't cut down the maple trees, obviously. We found a double culvert. Each one was 3 feet, had a giant beaver dam in each one. We got it open fairly quick, but it was a back-breaking one, it being so short. Then a day ago we found a decent one. Found a decent one a day ago. It was a 4-foot pipe, which is a lot better to work in than a 3-foot one. Removed it in 10 minutes. It was probably occupying maybe a quarter or a third of the pipe's diameter, but just that little bit of blockage was causing it to back up and cause further issues down the road, because those bigger pipes, they oftentimes put them in where they literally can never hit capacity, and that's because they want the road to wash out somewhere else so they don't have to replace the pipe. Okay, we're down now pretty good. You're gonna see that stick maybe come out on the other side if we can see good enough. But I think we're good right now. I think we're gonna head on out. Or I do kind of want to see this start to dry up a little bit in there. Maybe we'll wait around a little longer. Maybe we can play with the pipe a little more. And I'm not littering. I'm actually going to pick this up and throw it in my truck. I'm going to get it from the other side. Got it. Ooh, look at that. Without me even doing anything, it's no longer coffee colored. Now it's dark brown looking in there. Well, black coffee colored. So right now what it's doing is it's eroding silt. That's more like a sandy stuff that I was stirring up. But now it's eroding from back in there, all kinds of muck. Oh yeah, the swamp actually goes up in there quite a bit, and that's starting to drain out now. That's why the water just suddenly turned a different color. So actually, I don't think it's gonna drop anymore. I think this is as low as the water level's going to get. Yeah, it started turning murky again. It's probably still dropping slightly, but we're almost matching what's coming in and what's leaving. Now that's not being fed from somewhere. That's just draining a bigger area back there, which, oh, who knows how big that is. I just noticed that. There could be swamp. It looks like there's a clearing back there. We could be draining some more stuff back there. But that's all right. It has basically calmed down now. Let's go collect camera number 2, which I'm pretty lucky didn't get knocked over. Camera number 2 off. Now that new dark water that's coming from back there, now that stuff is starting to stink. It's getting kind of stinky out here. Just gotta clean off the tripod a little bit in that water. Yeah, that's a little bit stinky what's coming from deep in the swamp. Moose like to hang out in these, so there's lots of poo mixed in usually. Wow, it's dropping even more. We're starting to see bottom a little bit. I'd much rather get some of these unblockings done before frog season. Frog season already started at my house. Up here, it's probably going to start this week at some point. And I just feel terrible when I have to drain these and there's tadpoles in there. Sometimes I'll just mark them and let someone else do it and just hope they don't get around to it until the end of the summer. So At least there's no frogs around yet. I hate draining pools on the side of the road. That's kind of why I raise frogs at my house. They're eggs I've collected from drainage ditches and brought home to my own ponds. And I didn't bring them home from places like this. I brought them home from literally the highway behind the house, so we're only moving them maybe half a mile, because you're not supposed to move wildlife super far because there's diseases going around that harm frogs in recent years. We're not moving them far. We're just moving them within their own hopping distance. Frogs will travel actually pretty far during rainstorms when everything's wet. All right, we're done. Camera number 2 is on. All right, everyone. That, we opened it in literally a minute. Gearing up took longer than it took to open that. Waited around 20 minutes so I can make time lapses of it draining. That's as much as it's gonna drain because it's being fed by a bigger swamp. So there's no water like currently feeding it. What I mean by that is there's spots that you're not seeing from the road that are still draining, but it's not being fed because there wasn't any extended flooding anywhere. So now we're going to continue down this road. This might actually be a contributor of it. That's a beaver dam right there. Oh my gosh, look at this. Look what's only... Wow, that is a massive beaver lodge. I can't believe beavers didn't clog that black pipe, which is literally right there. Look at the road. It's right there where we just unclogged. So this is what's slowly trickling down and probably feeding that. Wow, look at their pantry. They have a lot of stuff in there from the winter that they were eating. Look at all the stuff floating up from the surface. In the spring, why is everything floating up from the surface? Because a beaver will store everything in the winter so they don't have to come up. They don't have to leave their pond ever. They'll cut down a bunch of trees, jam them in the mud at the bottom. It freezes over. When they're hungry, they come out of their lodge, swim underneath the ice, grab a stick, bring it back up. When they're done chewing off the bark, which is their food, they'll bring it back down under the ice, just leave it somewhere, and they'll grab another one. That's why you find it floating everywhere. And then in the spring, they'll use all those sticks to reinforce their dam once the surface of the water completely thaws. So early spring beaver dams are usually built with a lot of sticks that don't have any bark on them because it's from there over the winter. Then it'll be a mix throughout the summer because they're building faster than they can eat. All right, we're done. Thanks for watching, everyone. Have a great day. And here's some time lapses. Camera number 2 is on.